Hi, my name is Heather Westlake. I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator in Post Falls, Idaho. Today I'm going to be making a Joy fold card. We'll be using the Magnolia Lane Designer Series paper and the Magnolia Memory Dies to make the Magnolia flower. Opens like this and then like this. So let me show you some of the things we're going to be using. The dies are under here. There's all these different ones, and this big one cuts out the big magnolia flower. They coordinate with 3 stamp sets here. The Good Morning Magnolia actually has 2 packages that come with it, all of these images and words. There's also a Magnolia Blooms stamp set that coordinates with it. The thank you from this set is the one I used on the card today. Designer Series paper is great. I've used up a lot of it and mostly have these lovely pieces left. You can see some of those. I also wanted to show you some Memories and More cards that coordinate with this. There's a smaller size that have things you can use for journaling, for scrapbooking, for making card fronts. They also have bigger cards that you can use for the same things. They also have some vellum. They also have some images that have adhesive already on the back of them that are beautiful. I've used up a lot of those as well. Let me show you some cards and samples with those. These first ones use some of the cards from the Memories and More. And the stickers that are high quality and self-adhesive. This one has some of the cards as well as a stamped image on it. This one opens up a little bit differently. Next one is an easel card. I actually cut these flowers just out of the Designer Series paper, and then that pops up and you could write under there. This one I use an embossing folder called Layered Leaves. This one I did coloring actually with our Stampin' Write markers, the water-based ones, and colored on the back of one of the vellum pieces from the Memories and More cards. This one I used white craft ink and rubbed it over the top after I ran this through the embossing folder. It's another one of the dies from the die set. Also has an edgelet included in the die set that cuts this fancy edge, and I like it. This one was colored with our alcohol blends markers and then cut out. This one also colored with the blends. This one I embossed white on black, which makes the colors pop, and then again used the blends markers to color that. Is that edgelet used again? Another one colored with the blends markers, and this one I actually put ink on the embossing folder before I ran it through our die cutting machine. This one I also colored with the blends markers. It has some Wink of Stella on there. I don't know if you can see that or not. This one also does. I don't know if you can see that sparkle. This one does as well. This one folds a little bit differently. This one, the left-hand side, is also one of the cards from the Memories and More. So let's go ahead and peek at 2 more samples. This one I used our journal and then decorated the front cover with some of the designer paper, one of the flowers, and then our ribbon and twine that matches. I also made this little box with a magnolia on top, and this one you might notice that I've folded it a little bit more defined on each of the petals, and I also added a little bit of color here with petal pink on the outside and some So Saffron on the inside. Let's go ahead and peek at the dimensions we're going to need for our card today. Our base will be petal pink in this sample. It's 4 1/4 by 8 1/2. You're going to score at the 5 1/2 line. And then go ahead and fold on that. That'll be our base for our card. The next piece is the inner fold. It's 3 by 8 inches and it's scored at 4 inches, and you're just going to fold that in half. There is the Designer Series paper that goes inside the base. That's 4 by 5 1/4. There's The piece that goes on the front, it's 2 3/4 by 4 inches. The top of the inner fold is 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. And also the white that's going to go inside that to write on is 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. You're also going to need a white piece of cardstock to stamp the words on. So I have something similar to that, 4 by 1 1/2. Then you're also going to need 2 to make the flower. You're going to need 2 of the bigger piece for the magnolia, 2 of the medium, and 2 for the small. So I used 2 pieces of paper, 3 by 3, 2 2.5 by 2.5, and 2 2 by 2 inches. You're also going to need some So Saffron for the centers of the flowers. That's 2 by 2 3/4, and you can run those through the die at the same time. Then the dies actually hold 2 of the leaf dies as well, so I just used 2 of those, and that's 2 inches by 1 1/2 inches. So let me show you how those all fit together. I'm going to go ahead and take your base and take the largest piece of Designer Series cardstock. Decide which side you want down. Use an adhesive of your choice to attach that to the inside. Then I'm going to go ahead and do the piece that goes on the front. Again, you can use whatever side you want. In this case, I'm trying to keep light on this piece of Designer Series paper because I know the next piece I'm going to use is dark, and I always want to put dark against light or light against dark. I'll go ahead and attach this first. It's going to go in here, so I'm just concerned about centering it right now, so I'm going to put adhesive on the back of either side of it. It's the same thing, so it doesn't really matter at this point. Like I said, I'm just concerned about centering it. And then go ahead and open that up, and the white piece is going to go inside there. I see this is a tiny bit crooked, so let's just fix that. Okay. And then go ahead and attach this white piece inside. That'll be to write on. And the other piece of Designer Series paper goes on the outside. Thus this one. And you might think before you attach that, if there's a corner that's kind of blah and you don't care if it gets covered up, you could put the flower there. I kind of like this big one showing, so I'm going to go ahead and put that up above so it shows, hopefully. So let's go ahead and make our magnolia flowers. So we have the 2 large pieces, 2 medium pieces, and 2 small pieces. You can take your scoring tool, and we're basically just trying to break the fibers of the cardstock so that it kind of folds up like the petals of a real flower would. If you don't have a scoring tool, it's no problem. You can use a pencil or a pen or some other stylus. It totally doesn't matter, just something kind of round. But since this does work the best, I think I'll go with that. So just going to do that to all those pieces that are going to make up the magnolia petals. And I'm going to go ahead and use our Tombow adhesive to attach all those petals. It dries fairly quickly, but it does give you a few seconds to move it if it's not perfect, which I like. So I'm going to go ahead and start with one of the large ones, and I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive right in the center of it. And then alternating between the petals, I'm going to place the other one, the large one. Not horribly concerned about bending up the petals at this point because I can do that after it dries. And I'm going to take one of the medium ones. And again, alternating the petals. I'm just going to press real firmly there in the center, make sure it's where I want it before it gets stuck. Take the next medium piece and again layer it down there. And take one of the smaller pieces and again layer in between the other petals. And it got a little sideways there, so I'm just going to quick before it dries pull it back. And just a little bit more for this last piece. This one I'm kind of going to hold there for a second. I kind of want that to stay really good. The So Saffron centers I'm actually going to attach with the mini glue dots as well as the leaves. With the mini glue dots, the secret to them is to not touch them with your finger. Take the piece that you want to stick to something else, press it to the mini glue dot, and it will just pull it off of that waxy paper and then stick it wherever you want it. I'm going to take the smaller center and do the same thing, attach it to a mini glue dot and let it pull it off. Again, I'm going to try and kind of alternate those. For the center, I'm going to use our gold faceted gems. And what I like to do with that is take our fine point scissors and just sneak it underneath there. And there's a mini glue dot attached to the bottom of them, and then you just press it down and hold it wherever you like. I'm going to set that aside to dry just for a minute after I attach the petals. Again, I'm just going to let the mini glue dot attach it for me and not touch it with my finger. Okay, set that aside. I'm going to go ahead and take my scrap piece of paper that I'm going to stamp the words on. Like I said, the thank you is from Magnolia Blooms stamp set. I'm going to ink it up with the Mossy Meadow. Press down firmly and straight back up. Whenever you want to use a punch, you're going to always want to use it upside down so that you can see where you're trying to center the image in. In this case, for our sample, just to show you that one more time, I do want the thank you off to the right side just a little bit so I can put the flower kind of around it. So I am going to punch there. But when you get it centered the way you want it, just go ahead and squeeze and it'll punch that out. Here's the one we're working on. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of adhesive on the back of that. And I'm hoping this is a little bit drier, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of fold up these petals. Kind of more of what I had already done with the scoring tool, but now that I've really got it stuck together, I want to kind of accentuate that so it looks more realistic. Probably wouldn't want to pop this in the mail. It's a little high, so it's more one of those things you might give with a gift or give something in person to somebody, a card, instead of trying to mail it. Or you could mail it with gifts in a box where it doesn't have to be flat. Just going to put a little adhesive on the back of the flower. I'd like to put it in the bottom left corner here, but I want to be sure that the words kind of tuck around it. So I'm going to move this. See how I'm moving the flower so that it doesn't cover part of the words, but just goes around that part of the T there. So I'm kind of moving the whole thing at the same time. So there you go. There's our Joy Fold card. I hope you enjoyed it today. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day.